that's where their early game plan goes to. So it's very interesting to see the differences in priority between these teams and how the meta is now letting these teams kind of deep dive into, well, how does your team play and what picks do you want to prioritize as a result?
Well, it's about time we find out. It is going to be WE on our blue side, banning away the Zoe once more, getting rid of the Nidalee as well, away from Weiwei, and Yone as a respect ban. But regardless of being on that red side, the Orianna's still banned from Shanks, the Kai'Sa banned, and now Pantheon banned away as well, away from Beishang, which means things like the Olaf would be available.
Yeah. I'm thinking Olaf here as well. I think that would be the first pick here. They've prioritized Beishang in a lot of these situations. There is also the argument here to go towards the Samira, which they did do in their game versus Rogue Warriors, where they early prioritized that pick. But it looks like Shanks, after getting bopped around a little bit in the last game, has decided, you know what, we need to make sure that we're the ones getting our hands on this Syndra. We're the ones controlling the pace of this mid game and allowing us to support Beishang and pretty much the entirety of WE in their endeavors.
So now for V5, it's all about finding a good matchup elsewhere. Things like the Echo would be available if they want to take that mid into the Syndra. There are a couple of other potential answers available. But things like the Olaf available, things like incredibly strong supports and AD carries still available. So I'm curious which direction V5 are likely to go with this one. I wouldn't be surprised to see them just lock something like a Leona, just get a really strong support in the bank already.
Yeah, what I'd like to see the Leona come through here as well, and then what you could even opt into doing is going towards something like the Galio here in the mid lane, does well against the Syndra, and you've set up, if you get like the Olaf, Leona, Galio, a very heavy dive composition with a lot of flexibility on how you want to try and play out the map. So that could be the port of call here. However, we are going to see the Jhin locked in, so solidifying that bot lane for themselves. However, for WE, I think they're going to be pretty happy. I mean, you're getting at least Beishang back onto a Graves, a very comfortable pick for him. However, not one that does particularly well into the Olaf. Bottom side though, Jomon going back towards the Samira, which has been his go-to when he's able to leave that one open.
And it's interesting to see...
Oh,
hang on, the Akali's come through. This is exciting. It's been incredibly high presence so far in the LPL, but we haven't really seen it in games. So Mole going to be bringing out the Akali in the mid lane. In the bottom lane as well, we have... Sorry, I just want to finish my point quickly on the AD carries before we move on. We saw Y4 picking the Jhin into the Samira of Jomung last time around. Now we see Jomung picking the Samira into the Jhin from Y4. Both of these AD carries very comfortable in either side of the matchup.
Exactly, but this is definitely one that, again, is kind of Samira favorite, but heavily plays into the support roles. I do want to say, like, I don't think there has been a game in the LPL where Akali hasn't slotted or been banned away. Like, this pick is so incredibly powerful in the current patch, and I actually forgot that it hadn't been banned because I just assumed that that was what was going to happen. So the fact that you're getting Mole in this Akali, well, can go towards Mole, but can be flexed towards Longqing, but I assume Mole in this mid lane, you can go towards the fleet footwork. It's actually a really good matchup into the Syndra because you can use the shrouds to start to dodge away from the follow-up damage that can come through from the Syndra. So at least it's not a winning matchup, but you can certainly survive this early laning phase as Mole and get to that late game point where this Akali can take over.
So this is really, really intelligent though from V5 with the bans against two CC supports. PP God just goes Leona. Suddenly, W are kind of running out of engaged supports to go with this Samira. You run out of things that Samira's passive can be used in conjunction with. I'm really curious what WE's response would be at that point. In fact, they've banned the Leona themselves just to say, hey, you don't get to do this to us. You don't get to take everything.
They had to. They needed to in this situation because they're going full dive here. Leona would have been perfect. Set is the other option here for them, which we're going to see locked in straight away. Like, think about like Olaf, Akali, Set, all diving in on top of you. This is going to be so damn difficult for them to try and get away from. However, without having the Leona there, you've at least got one step removed from that near guaranteed engage tool. So in this situation, at least, they are able to keep themselves safer on the WE side. I'd like to see something like a Thresh locked in here on WE to... you can still play that aggressive bot lane if you want to, but at least you've still got some opportunities to use this Lantern to reposition the immobile carries like Shanks or even Beishang if they do get caught out.
Ooh, it looks
or
like
Maokai, actually. Maokai could be another one here.
Yeah, Maokai potentially available. You could even go into wackier options, but we won't go down the rabbit hole. We'll see what he's going to lock in on this one. Interesting to see Breathe was hovering the Renekton and ends up going on to Ornn duty here for the team, which kind of represents a lot of how he's been utilized so far on this squad. He has become very much a team player for the squad and is having to become a team fight presence as opposed to a significant solo laner. But it looks like Missing will go with the Gragas support.
Okay, so again, more dive coming through. This is a very strong matchup for Longxing with the Camille. Can look to not win out in the early stages, but just look to scale into the later game stages where he gets those 2 to 3 items and does Camille things, but certainly plays into, as we said, that dive orientation from V5. So when we look towards the mid game for V5, this composition desperately wants to get early control around these objectives, get a bunch of pink wards down so they can start to sneak in from multiple different angles of attack onto WE. On WE side, they're more going towards this traditional team fighting style of composition, but with a lot of heals. They're looking to get the Gragas to be this disengage tool. Same when you look at the Ornn. It's more about keeping and pushing back this aggressive nature that is coming in on the opponent's side.
I will say, for the side of WE, based on last game, I would much prefer them to have a proactive composition to be the ones trying to force the issue. It feels like V5 are the ones with priority once again, not necessarily lane priority, but with they're the ones that have to make the play happen. And it feels like, based on the games we've seen so far, WE are stronger when they can be the ones that are on the front foot.
I'd agree. However, they still have those opportunities to a certain extent, like the Syndra will have prio mid, can work very well with Beishang, even maybe hope to set up some kills onto Mole early, but overall, WE still have opportunities to make plays work in the early game.
We'll see if WE can find some early game plays for themselves, if they can get Jomung ahead, if Shanks can have a better time in this mid lane. The mid lane has gone both ways, but Mole seeming like the better player as we head into game number 3 here. Both of these teams looking to build their reputations. All right, well, both teams right now, as WE, this is their second series, V5, this will be the last game of their first series of the LPL. Both had an incredibly strong summer split. Now looking to prove themselves here in 2021. There is a wide open field to become a top team in the LPL. It's a new year, and we had so many roster shuffles. These first few weeks are going to be so telling on who the teams are that we need to be looking at moving forwards.
Well, I think looking at this game at least, both teams are going to be looking again to scramble to take control in the early stages of the game. I give the edge though to WE. We already talked about that mid lane matchup, and even when you look at the bot lane here, Missing and Jomung, they have a lot of playmaking ability with this Gragas support, and if you can get Beishang down into that bottom lane, you can make things work. The problem with looking at Set and Jhin is that they kind of slot into two different roles. Like, if you look towards the all-in potential of Set, it's really, really strong, whereas Jhin kind of wants to take this poke and trade and then eventually open up with the curtain call. But you can see here that, like, Missing and Jomung are just able to go aggressive level 1, and there's not very much you can do as Y4 and PP God.
Yeah, really aggressive trades on the bottom side, which you would expect, especially with Gragas having his passive to heal up. It's very easy to take these aggressive trades and then sustain yourself back up afterwards. Flash forwards from PP God as they go straight into Jomung. Ignite is ticking. He's used his flash and he's going to go down in the 2v2. PP God strikes again.
That was amazing from PP God, but a big mistake from Jomung. Like, Set level 1 wants the flash. We've seen it pretty much every single time we've seen this guy in the LPL. And walking way too far forward to trade onto Y4, even cancels an auto in that trade, and then PP God realizes that it's too little too late, and Jomung goes down.
Beautifully done here from the bottom lane from V5. And this is exactly what you expect from PP God. He's such an aggressive support player. It's why he's built such a huge fan base over the course of last year. But Jomung wants to answer for this one. Dashes on in with the Wild Rush, but can't do too much with it. Breathe actually in a bit of trouble as Longxing thought he was going to go a little bit more aggressive there, but decides not to overextend for this one.
Good job with the Bellows Breath there from Breathe to stop Longxing from being able to go aggressive, is taken quite low, and unfortunately for him, isn't able to get this wave shoved under tower as easy as you would like, so Longxing doing a good job freezing it. However, with both junglers having path towards the bot side, it's not like there's going to be much attention here onto Breathe. Weiwei hovering here though, as PP God goes for the Hex Splash. I don't think using the bush.
Yeah, Missing is going to be able to be rooted up here. True damage coming out from the Haymaker, but Missing walks away with his life. Still had Flash as well, so was never in too much danger. Beishang now moving in towards the mid lane. Mole is very far up this lane right now. Shanks doesn't have a lot of mana. The Shroud gonna do a lot to try and keep Mole safe here, but as soon as he tries to get out of that Shroud, in they go. Flash forced out, but Mole escapes.
Bot side though, we're still getting more action, Munch.
They've gone back out once again, Missing so low on HP. Jomung as well, but they walk away. The burn isn't enough. How do they keep getting away with this?
They're getting away with it because by not dying, but they are certainly not getting away with it when it comes towards that CS, because this is going to be another wave that shoved in. Now, Jomung and Missing are staying to hold on to this wave, but Weiwei stopped his back. They're just going rinse and repeat. Third time's the charm.
Yeah, they're looking for a dive this time around. Y4 has the fourth shot available. PP God over the wall, looking to try and get the stuns. Missing, flashes under the tower, it survives. Jomung lives as well. This is ridiculous. They've gone to the wrong side, though, and now they're going to get chased down by Longxing. Missing, trying to walk away, won't get away with it this time. They will answer, though, as Weiwei falls as well. Jomung walking underneath the enemy tower. Longxing grabs that one. It's a 3 for 2 overall.
Oh God, what is going on? All the shenanigans are coming out. You know what? There's like when a boxer gets like that little bit too tired towards the end of a fight, and it feels like we're starting to get a little bit of that. PP God tries to make the aggressive play underneath the tower, but realizes that I'm a little bit too low. And with the amount of burst damage that can come through very quickly with Missing and Jomung, he ends up falling. And with the TPs coming in from V5, though, they're able to secure that one, at least to even it out. But very messy across the board. And it's bought a little bit of time for Breathe in this top lane. Shove in that mid lane, get a nice back for himself. He won't even have to burn TP here. He can just walk up towards his top lane. And now with the next dragons, or even the further plays that try to happen on this bottom side for V5, Breathe can show up.
Yeah, I think the key thing to take away from this is that ultimately the fact that that was a fairly even fight and WE used less, right? They were just responding to the play. It was Shanks that TP'd down, whereas Mole had used his TP to get back to lane. Longxing TP'd into the bottom side of the map. Meant Breathe had a bit of free time. Meant Shanks was able to pick up a kill in the bottom side fray as well. So all things considered, it's a fairly neutral play at the end of it, but it's V5 with a minor gold lead.
And now, Jomung Missing having this push down the bot side. You see again, Beishang and Weiwei are hovering just in the wings to try and make sure that they can support their teams where necessary.
Oh, PP God Hex flashes in onto Missing, but takes a bit of damage himself. Jomung jumps forward so damn aggressively. Haymaker's already been used, and Beishang picks up an easy kill. Now Weiwei in on the play, and Mole is rotating over as well. This could get bad for WE, who have really committed, but with the collateral damage, he slides out of the fight. Mole comes in. Perfect execution is available. Dashes under the tower, but he's exhausted. And so Jomung finds it instead. Now the TP comes out for Breathe. The Orn Horn is blown, and Weiwei finds himself alone in the fray, taken down, and another with the shotgun.
It's a disaster, and Shanks is here, Y4! You gotta run! He will manage to escape, but my God! WE are putting the hurt onto V5's bot lane. What started off as a somewhat nice lane for Jomung and Missing, for Y4 and PP God, has now turned heavily in favor of Y4 and Missing. Yeah, they've got maybe 10 CS behind, but the kills that they've gotten over themselves, the pressure that they've now created on this bot lane is going to pay off dividends for WE.
See, this is the 5-head plays coming out from WE. They looked, in fact, let's take another look at the replay, and then I'll go into why they're 5 heads.
So, Jomung, again, we talked about how Beishang was here to support him. He goes in aggressive, bypasses the Showmaker, the Haymaker, which does a lot of work. The big thing here, again, is we're trying to just tick down on a timer to get this Orn TP in. Look at the top lane. Longxing, he's got that lane just fully shoved in. So as that wave is cleared, Longxing TPs, there's nothing that... not Longxing, Breathe TPs, there's nothing Longxing can do. And from that point forward, you've got to force Weiwei into a scrap here as well. But beautiful stuff from WE.
And just think what happened with this team last year. Domo's taken him aside after game number 2 and said, look, guys, you allowed a laning phase, an extended laning phase to happen. We never do laning phases here at WE. Just brawl. Just fight them wherever they come. Let's get down to the bot lane. Let's play around Jomung. V5 trying to force these fights around Jomung is letting WE play their comfort zone. This is the kind of skirmishes that they love to play.
And WE, again, off of the pressure now that they create a bot, should be able to get this Rift Herald. You can see the wave was shoved in there for Y4, so as a result, Jomung has first move here. He gets up towards this mid lane as the rest of the WE support the Rift Herald play.
So WE, they managed to get the Drake, they managed to get the Rift Herald as well, finding every advantage off the back of this early couple of skirmishes they got for themselves. Stun goes out onto Mole in this midsection. Does have his ultimate available, has flash as well, so you shouldn't expect him to be in too much danger at this point. PP God will be able to finish off the control ward, and Missing immediately drops the ward to answer for that situation. Missing is a level up on PP God. They're just going to be kind of sparring with one another over this little ward skirmish that happened.
I'm curious to see what build Longxing is going to go in this game. I'm looking at the top lane. We saw the Triforce come out, I believe it was yesterday with Clement, where he was talking about, you know, although the nerf to the attack speed has come in on the Triforce, it's still really good. I think in this situation, though, although in a split push scenario, the Triforce does really well, I think we'll probably see the Divine Sunder build. There's going to be a lot of times where Longxing is just forced to group with the team, and if you can get this Divine Sunder in towards a early, like Gravitas Hydra in towards an early Sterix gauge, you just become so tanky and can actually be quite a bit of a threat in this team fight. And what we talked about already, the very heavy dive focus composition that V5 are going for, Longxing really needs to be the person to lock down the Jomung and Missing in these team, Jomung and Shanks in these team fights.
Shing has moved down to try and get vision of what's happening, but Beisheng's already here. He's already grabbed the Scuttle Crab. Wei Wei starting to fall pretty massively behind in this game. And let's bear in mind that Wei Wei, when we talked earlier on today, we set V5 up as kind of the 3 apostles returning, right? It was PP God, Mole, and Wei Wei. These are the 3 returning players from V5. And these are the kind of the 3 main centerpieces that this team is going to play around. Wei Wei being this far behind in the jungle means that the rest of V5's game plan kind of falls apart behind. He's 30 CS down as well as the 2 kills from earlier. Never mind the fact that Beisheng also has a Rift Herald, so he's going to have some plate gold coming his way shortly. This makes it very difficult for V5 now to play out the next few minutes of the game.
Especially when you look at the fact that Shanks' teleport is coming up soon. I'd love to see Shanks just shove in this mid lane incredibly hard, and then off of this slow wave that's building the bot side, they can look to get the Rift Herald and the TP with Shanks to guarantee that you can take this bottom lane turret. Because Jomung, again, if you can get this 80 carry fed, is going to do a lot of work in these team fights. And especially when you look at the dive orientation of V5 that we talked about, a dive composition that falls behind just sucks. Like, you need to at least stay even to ahead, because otherwise you're just diving into your death, and that's not fun for anyone involved.
And this is one of the really smart things that we've seen coming out from Jomung as well this game, is that instead of going with something like the cleanse or the heal, he has gone for the exhaust himself. We saw it in that last fight. Mole dives into the back line as he's trying to finish off some of these low health bars. Immediately, Jomung just drops the exhaust onto him. Mole can't get anything done, and it means that the rest of the fight can be swept up by WE. They're now 1,500 goals, or just over 1,000 gold, ahead of their opponents. Drake's coming up in 20 seconds, and realistically, there shouldn't be a universe where V5 can contest. I say that, though. Shanks is in trouble as it's a 1v1 between him and Mole. Flashes away and throws out Scat of the Week. Mole has the perfect execution. Beisheng actually flashed after that one. A little bit suspect on the flash, to be quite honest. There was no way Beisheng could finish that.
Yeah, I'm surprised to see him go that aggressively now, though. Yeah, just looking to see if he can stop the backs for Mole. As you said, that Dragon being up means a lot here for WE if they can continue to stack these and have that as a win condition on the cards, because it will be Mountain or Inferno that we look towards ourselves. But Mole...
Oh. Is the plate going to go down? It doesn't. Mole protects the plate there. Beisheng gets 2 plates for himself. Shank's got none of that plate gold. So good job by Mole to try and keep the mid lane matchup at least somewhat even. Now it's going to be Breathe that's in trouble. He's not used to being the weak side top laner here. 1 versus 3. It's going to be an easy kill for the side of V5.
Smart call from V5 as well. We just said, look, you're not going to be able to contest that dragon because Mole is going to be forced to back. You don't have priority mid. Right. Instead, they go and make that play topside, get some much needed gold into the hands of this Akali and also this Camille, who are going to be the mainstay when we get towards this later portion of the game. Now, there is the opportunity as well for V5 where not only just opting towards dive, they can look to play at a 1-3-1 for a while where Longxing can do relatively well against Breathe. We can see already Mole, now that he's working up towards that rocket belt, will do a lot of work against Shanks too. So I think there is opportunities here to slow the pace of the game down for V5, and I think that's their best bet. Not let the fact that WE are getting this control of the map, getting control in the bottom lane and letting them run away with the game.
Oh dear, the blue buff trying to escape there, but Shanks is going to be able to return up towards this top side here as Longxing, or Breathe, sorry, going to be in the mid lane. As soon as I see Ornn, I just think Longxing, that's how synonymous he is with that pick. But I have to say, that last tower going down, the last plate, sorry, in the mid lane going down, nobody being there for WE. It's such a sad sight to see a tower plate that was on 1 HP just go to nothing.
But look, you know what? They gave them the opportunity to the plate. It could have been cooperative. It could have just given the little bit of extra gold across. You know what? You don't get asked twice. You don't get invited to the party twice. They didn't want to be a part of the rest of the gold that's in their wallets. They don't get a second chance.
Oh, Jomung is in big trouble here. Longxing takes out half of his health just so easily there. Breathe had to TP just to make sure that the AD carry is going to be okay in this one. Does mean now that Mole has a bit of solo time on the top side of the map. Jomung has to answer with this tower here. And it looks like it will be a trade of towers across the map.
But this is exactly what we were talking about, is this 1-3-1 that they can opt into as V5. Yet you're actually trading evenly here, plus getting the summoner spell out on the side of V5. So honestly, it's a win in their books. And if they can continue with this pressure, it makes things a heck of a lot easier. Especially when you're looking in 2 minutes and 2.5 minutes, essentially, this dragon's going to be up. Hey, look, that's 1-3-1. We just got that TP out of Breathe. No TP on Shanks, although will just about be available for the dragon. Spread the map open, and we can look to play towards this next dragon by using the pressure that we have with these summoner spells.
And look at this, V5 using the pressure that they had from Breathe, TPing towards the bottom side to start this Herald off. In comes Breathe, Call of the Forge God is there, and it's Beisheng that gets the Herald. This is disastrous for Weiwei, who's stuck in the pit without a flash. A kill comes off the back of it for WE. They get their cake, and they get to eat it.
Oh, that was heartbreaking. Everyone peeled off the Rift Herald, and you can see Weiwei was like, I got Ragnarok, I gotta commit to this. Maybe I can flash out of the pit after, but unfortunately wasn't able to deal the damage he needed to quick enough. Ends up with Beisheng getting the steal, and Weiwei goes down as a result. So nice job from WE to collapse fast enough. And unfortunately, V5 just don't quite have the damage to burst this down. You'll see it here, like, it is getting so low. But Beisheng, with that 2-level advantage, able to steal it right out from underneath the Olaf's nose.
The flash as well. The flash was very sad. I'm pretty sure that was just a fumble on the smite, because he didn't flash away from any abilities. He flashed pretty much on the spot. Not ideal coming out from Weiwei, and it feels like he's really struggling with the pressure in this game. Missing has just completed his quest, which is not important, but I saw the little star, so I'll talk about it. Dragon coming up in a minute, Dagda. I mean, obviously, WE are going to be the ones with an advantage here. How does V5 contest, though? Because realistically, they're not that far behind in gold.
Yeah, well, I'd like to see them try and play out in the side lane strategies we talked about. However, if they wanted to go for this, it would need to be Mole on the bottom side of the map. He doesn't have his teleport up and available. And unfortunately, they don't really have the waves, or at least the timing, to get themselves back and keep the waves in a position where they can threaten WE. So it looks like as of right now, they are going to at least keep this pressure up and see maybe if they can use that, get a pick maybe onto Breathe here, or at least fall back over towards that dragon.
Breathe going to do a decent job of trading evenly there, despite Longxing obviously being on the Camille, having a Divine Sunderer. Like, Camille definitely wins the 1v1 at this point. If he can position correctly and make sure Longxing's taking a couple of tower shots every trade, suddenly it's not so one-sided. Herald in the mid lane here will be able to finish this tower off. I don't think Jomung can finish it before the charge. But huge amount of priority in the mid lane for WE. It means they can rotate over towards this dragon, and it's Mole trying to answer in the top side.
Yeah, and V5 aren't interested. Mole is just going to stay there, still doesn't have his TP available. Longxing is recalling as well, so unfortunately a bit of a fumble on the lane assignments there means that you're not really going to be able to contest. Now, it would have been difficult to anyway because you've got that mid-priority guarantee with the Rift Herald put down, but still, WE coming out on top when it comes to these map movements.
Yep, and they're able to defend the top tier 2 as well. Shank's going to TP over towards the top side for that one. WE doing a good job of maintaining control here. 3 Drakes on the board. The difference between this game for WE and last game for V5 is that this is an Infernal Soul. So there is no, you know, oh, we got Soul, but there's not much we can do about it like we saw with V5 last game and then the umming and ahhing for 10 minutes. This time it's an Infernal Soul. V5 are going to have to contest the next Drake or pretty much never win a team fight again.
Yeah, and here's the thing as well. It's not like there's one team that definitely has the scaling advantage. It's going to very much come down to execution and how you play the map. Like we've already highlighted a lot of the different strengths that are coming in on both sides. So when you're looking at, oh, hey, look, we can just add an Infernal Soul to our kit, but then suddenly it makes it a very clear win for the likes of WE. Even the fact that they picked up these 3 dragons already is going to do a lot to help them in their abilities to play these team fights if we ever get to that point, but also just in trying to stay around in these side lanes against the likes of Longxing and Mo.
And one of the things as well that has to be talked about is how dramatically different this series has gone to what I would have expected. Y4 going to be knocked up there, and the combo between Samira and Gragas is beautiful. Don't know if they can actually finish this one off, though. Weiwei is responding. There's a TP as well being channeled. Beisheng's off to the side to try and help them out. Missing is stuck, though. Doesn't have his flash available. It's actually a V5 pick here at the end of things. Jomong, level 11, has Inferno Trigger at the ready. But his trigger finger not too itchy on this one, and he will just walk away from the fray. Missing the only one to go down.
And that's the thing, if you don't pick Jhin, he still gets to do Jhin things because his entire kit revolves around him being 10 feet back from everyone else. So he's able to still get that turnaround damage with the curtain call, set up for that pick, and does buy time here for Longxing in the bottom lane as Breathe did back away. So a pick, a tower, a little bit more control in favor of V5, and that's exactly what they want to do. See if they can keep making this work for them and get towards that later game point where they're going to be so strong.
And I want to go back to what I was trying to set up before, is that how dramatically different this series is becoming comparatively to what I was expecting coming into this one. When you think about V5 last year, when you think about WE last year, they were all about the fighting, and we haven't seen that much. Great combos coming out there. Y4 just managing to get his cleanse off, managing to stay as far away. Still had his flash available, by the way.
Yeah, he knew that he didn't need to use it, but I think when I go back to your point there, yeah, this was not what I expected coming into today. I thought we'd see well, we saw a lot of action, at least in game number 3, but certainly I thought we'd see the foot put down when it got towards these mid games, and WE looking more for these pick orientations, getting deep vision control, which they are slowly trying to get in this game, but certainly not to the same effect as they did in summer of 2020 or even in the previous series against Rogue Warriors. And in V5 side, we talked about these guys being so aggressive in the early point of the game, almost to their detriment. However, once we get to this mid-game portion, it seems both teams are kind of going, okay, you know what, we're actually happy to just try and take this a little bit slower. Now, in the grand scheme of things, this does favor V5. V5 are trying to get towards like Longxing being at a really strong point. You can see Divine Sunter and Steric's Gage picked up. He's looking at these team fights with the builds that he's gone, very tanky build. Also, when you look towards the Akali, she's got that Rocket Belt completed, the Zhonya's as well, so she's all ready to go in these team fights. There's 2 items for V5 make a big difference.
Missing's been caught out again. The Hextech ultimatum just to make sure he can go nowhere. So another pick coming out the way of V5. Luckily for WE, they've got time. It's still a minute until this Drake, but once again, it's Missing that has to be the one that contests for vision control. He's the one that has to face check, and V5 are more than happy to punish him for it.
I love how V5... Ooh, okay, Y4.
Flash out from Y4. It's going to be a route onto Beisheng instead as Mole closes the gap. Perfect execution to finish the kill, bringing him back into the curtain call, and the lifesteal ain't anywhere near enough. This is V5 with 2 more picks on the back of that one, and they're running a Baron.
And look at the screams out of V5. PP got nearly out of his chair as they make that play happen, but that was beautiful. And what I wanted to say was, V5, understanding how their composition works, they go for a very early reset before this dragon. They're back on the map of, like, WE traditionally have backed at about a 50-second mark. V5 go for a minute 30 back, which means they're out on the map and they get the pick off the reset, so they're able to make this play happen before WE are even able to respond. Now V5 with Baron going towards Dragon.
And Jomung has only just respawned. Beishank still in base as well. This should be the Dragon going the way of V5. Unless some kind of miracle still happens from Shanks here. He goes and he gets it! What? Shanks, you beauty! Steals away the Infernal Soul. And now, knock up onto Maul. Flash forward from missing. The Ignite is taken away. He's gone into the Zhonya's, but Breeze should be able to finish that one over the wall. And WE, just as it looks like it's falling out of their control, they managed to seize this game by the horns.
Oh, God, Wei. What happened? It was right there.
But
all you had to do
what
was
a
smite.
way to go.
Oh, God. That's a no-no. But, yeah, when I look at this, just overall, it was starting to look so clean. The Baron was there. You had to just hit the smite, and you were away with this. But Shanks, the up-and-coming rookie on WE, stepping up to make the play after a disastrous game 2. The hero moment that could bring it all back for WE is that steal right there. And this is the play that started off. Early resets coming in from V5 mean they get full control over River. They're the ones that are able to make these plays, and it's about getting these multitude of different angles. PP God from one end, you've got the Olaf coming from another end, but there you see it, Shanks stealing that away at the last minute, and just add insult to injury, Mo going down on top of it.
And I think that, honestly, the ability to steal Drakes is one of the most underrated parts of Syndra's kit. The QE combo does well over 1,000 damage when you got a couple of items for yourself. He's got the Ludens, he's got himself his boots as well. He's able to do a huge amount of burst damage. That's not just like a... I mean, it is a negative to Wei to lose that Drake to a Syndra there, but Syndra's exceptionally good at stealing these objectives.
That's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Like, after seeing the elation from V5 when they made that play, like, literally standing out of their chairs to have it come crashing down with one steal. And you can even see now, look, yes, V5, they'll be able to get some of this standing gold, and it will help them out, but this Infernal Soul is such a big victory for WE.
And now, suddenly, that little comeback that we were seeing out from V5, they find a couple of picks, they go to Baron, they immediately try to snowball it into Dragon to deny the soul. That singular steal has halted all of that momentum in its tracks. Y4, oh, can't quite steal the red. They can't even get a red buff, Dagda. It's going to go the way of Jomung. Nothing is going V5's way anymore. It's not feeling good. It's really not feeling good for V5.
Now, at least in V5's books, they can still play this 1-3-1 style. We can see it right here, but the problem is now you've got two major objectives on V5's side that you have to fight for. Both the Elder Dragon and that Baron. So it's not like you can just like okay, well, we can gift a couple of these things across. No, these are both going to be game enders for you. So from that perspective, V5, they really have their backs up against the wall. You need to start making these plays happen where you're getting in, denying vision, and again, getting these early resets towards objectives where maybe you can look to pick people off in transition. But it's going to be very difficult in an uphill battle that was already looking pretty difficult and tumultuous for V5.
So let's take a moment here and kind of recap where we're at in the game and some of the items that are coming through for our primary carries, because even though we're talking about how WE are ahead in this one, when you look at the AD carries, there's actually a significant advantage in favor of Y4 already on the 3-item mark, whereas you've got the BF sword there for Jomung, not quite finished that 3rd item, and apparently the Chinese side are just talking about this as well because they're bringing up the item differences. That stopwatch is important though for Jomung, being able to survive a little bit better in these fights. Across the rest of the board, it's fairly even, aside from that jungle with the Collector there. Beishank almost finishing a 3rd item. He's got a Zeal as well as an Executionist, so it looks like he might even go for a Mortal Reminder here. Or maybe just building the Executioners and we'll finish something else. But regardless, we're seeing a lot of damage on the side of WE here and a lot of survivability.
Certainly. I just want to, like, coming back to your AD carry point, yes, Y4 is ahead, but the difference for a Jhin is that your strength in the team fight is at the start, when you open up with the curtain call, and the end, when you come in with your fourth shots. That mid-game, or mid-fight, is a little bit shakier, because you're usually trying to catch up to the fight, or waiting for your damage output so you can get that fourth shot. Whereas for Jungmung, he's much more impactful where he's in the thick of things, getting off a lot more damage, specifically when he gets his AoE ultimate off. However, you have hit the nail on the head there. Munch wants that Infinity Edge. Getting that 60% crit is so damn important right now for Jungmung, which is why we're seeing WE take a bit of a breather, take a second, see if they can ingest some of this farm onto the AD carry, and then come back and look for these fights at the Dragon in 50 seconds.
Well, the Dragon in 50 seconds is what we've got to look at here. There is going to be a lot of damage, and bear in mind, the item difference is nullified somewhat by the Infernal Soul that's on the side of WE, so Jungmung is not, even without an Infinity Edge, will be no slouch in this fight. 35 seconds on Infernal. Baron will be on the cards as well. That's up in 10 seconds. WE, though, if they get picked off, missing, taking a little bit of damage here, he's going to be fine. Beishong apparently looking towards chickens right now. Forget the fact that Elder Drake spotted in 20 seconds. I need a red buff. I need some chickens for myself. Missing going to go position up towards him as well. Breathe is here. Dagda, we're going to 5v5 on our hands.
Yeah, the big thing about this, though, is that you don't have that Infinity Edge completed, but you have that Ravenous Hydra completed for Camille. V5 have hit a really strong point at this, and you've got flashes galore on their side. A dive composition loves having flashes, the ability to outplay the CC and the lockdown of WE.
Oh, Jungmung's accidentally used his stopwatch. That is bad news. In they go straight on towards Jungmung. He doesn't have any way to survive, but he survives anyway. Drops down as Beishong falls as well. V5 trying to win this one out, but it's 2 versus 3 here as the health bar's are low. Shanks still surviving, still has Infernal Soul. And actually, there's not much damage remaining for the side from V5. Wei trying to escape out through the top side of the fight. And that was pure chaos for a while.
It can still be fight 2 Electric Boogaloo, though. You've got the TP available for Mole. He can still come into this play as they're starting to see if they can chase down this Olaf. Wei needs support right now, because if he dies, they can, off of respawn, take that Infern or Elder Dragon. So now Wei looking for the back as Mole is on the hunt.
Mole's TP'd into the play. Wei trying to recall, will be able to finish it off. Looks like WE now actually can't recall here because Breathe needs to deal with this minion wave for stopping his recall. Mole is around. Shanks looks like he's finished the recall off here. He's going to move on in. Mole jumps onto the likes of Breathe. It's an Akali. There is no answer. The TP comes on through. The damage isn't there. Feels bad for Mole.
Yeah, not able to stop that anymore. No micro stun there on the Akali ult, so not able to do very much, and it means that then you're able to get back there as Breathe to the base. However, TP burnt. Breathe is in base. Now an opportunity for V5 to make something work. It looks like right now, they're all drifting down towards this bottom side. Mo's ult is on such a short cooldown that it should, as long as V5 can delay a little bit, be back up. But a lot of those key flashes that we talked about were burnt in that last engagement. So things become a little bit easier for WE to keep themselves alive. And GA is well completed for Jungmung.
Yeah. That's what I was about to say. The stopwatch fumble can't hurt him anymore. He's got a GA now. Let's remember, this is for setting a precedent. This is for playoffs, potentially. When you look at where these guys should be in the standings, here we go. Flying into the fight. The curtain call going on through. Missing is low, but Breathe gets a knock up onto one. They're trying to back away. As it's Missing traded his life for Mole. That's a trade WE will take every day of the week. Breathe charging into the fray. Jungmung is 1 stack away from his ult, but it's going to fall off as the disengage comes out from V5 now towards this Elder Drake. PP God over the wall, but he's separated from the rest of his squad. Jungmung jumping in, grabs the blue buff. Looks like it was, in fact, Beishong that grabbed that. Now towards this Elder Drake they go. PP God still off on the flank, but he doesn't have his ultimate available.
And they don't really have the damage here. I mean, you need Mole to try and beat that assassination, but here comes PP God.
Ragnarok going to be used now. They have to charge into the fray. Lunching into it as well. They have so much hard engaged. Beishong forces Y4 out of the back of the fight. Breathe is still here in the pit with Lunching, but Jungmung is here to back up his top laner. That's one for him, and he's looking for more. Has the Inferno trigger ready, and it means Y4 backs off.
And a brilliant job from Jungmung there, realizing, hey, look, if everyone is focused on taking down Shanks, I can go straight towards this backline, gets onto Y4, separates out the team fight, and from that point forward, WE can deal with all the members of V5 in the pit. They get the Elder Dragon. They are looking at the Baron. WE are looking to put this game in the W column.
Let's bear in mind, these guys are neck and neck when it came to power rankings at the start of this split. They could be tied later on in the year, and it looks like WE might just have that head-to-head tiebreaker, might just put themselves 2-0 on the standings in the LPL. This has been a slog of a best-of-3 for the two teams, but WE just edging out these fights by mere inches. They get the Elder Drake, they get themselves the Baron.
And I mean, you've got a minute and a half left on towards this Dragon. There'll be a minute essentially left by the time they get back onto the map. You've got plenty of time on this Baron. Like, this is where WE can really start to take these last remaining outer turrets, pressure these inhibitor turrets. Now, they may not be able to finish the game off in one swift blow, but this is definitely a big advantage for themselves, especially when you look towards the likes of the Samira getting more items for herself, Shanks as well. This is the Infinity Edge, as you can see there, for Jomon already completed. Like, this is... Oh, this is getting dicey now, much.
Wait, Jomon had just finished his GA before that fight. He got an entire Infinity Edge out of bounties in that fight. That's insane. He got 3,500 gold from those fights. And from the back of getting Elder and getting Baron. That is a monumental gold swing. And now... he's gone from like a reasonable carry that if he gets an ult off, he'll win the game, to god tier hyper carry.
I like this for Jomon as well. Waiting to escort the minion wave. You get the speed up off of Handled Baron, so giving that a little bit of more time to get towards these waves. And you can see V5 playing very respectful. It's the countdown. It's the 30 seconds until Elder is gone. WE putting V5 their backs once again against the wall, seeing how much they can take while this Elder Dragon's still available.
Bear in mind, PP God is on the flank right here. He's outside of the base looking for an opportunity, but WE know exactly where he is. They're not going to fall for this one. Just getting a bit of chip damage down onto the base. 13 seconds on this Elder Dragon, and then V5 could theoretically pull the trigger. Mole going to be forced away on this Akali. Wants to try and get a flank himself. Wants to go in. Bree just stands there, staring PP God down. And there's two people off trying to flank, but they're too far away from the play. Now the team fight has exploded. Y4 with the current core can't do whole much of anything, as WE should be able to win this one out. Jomon into his GA. Same can be said for Mole and the Zhonya's up on the top side, but he goes down. Langxing too low. Y4 knocked up into the sky and blasted out of the air by the Hunter of Beisheng. Into the base they go. And down go V5. This is WE taking this series and tying themselves up in first place on the scoreboard.
A hard-fought victory for WE, taking it to all three games, taking it to the wire. But WE are able to come out on top, and you gotta look at just how close that game number 3 was. Honestly, it felt like it came down to that smite on that Inferno Soul, giving that little bit of extra damage over in favor of WE, eking out these team fights. But at the end of the day, they're the ones that will take the victory home.
It's a fantastic performance out from WE here, and a crucial win as well. You could see the relief on the players' faces as they were going for those fist bumps at the end, because you know that V5 is a team that's going to be contending in top 8. They'd already beaten Rogue Warriors, which is exciting, but ultimately, the expectation for Rogue Warriors is not that high this season. Even though they just beat Top Esports, there's still a long way to go before they're considered a favorite in the season. V5 now taking V5 down, WE now taking V5 down, means that that's another step on the road to proving themselves as a top team. It's not quite a top team that they've taken out, but it's at very least a middle tier.
Definitely. And I think that's now where we're starting to look at, honestly, a very, very strong WE. I mean, they're coming off of obviously beating Rogue Warriors, now taking a favorable win against V5, but this was a hard fought victory. Like, this wasn't the, well, we're just going to roll over or have V5 roll over like they did in game 1 and we can run away with this game. They had to take every single moment, and you can see V5 trying to outplay on the map state and seeing if they can use the advantages that they had that way. But overall, a big victory for WE. I think we can still look at Shanks as if and anon I'm still seeing a bit of problems there, obviously. We look at that game number 2. But at least when we get to game number 3, the team fighting once again that we highlighted for WE on point and what was able to bring them across the finish line here.
Yeah, I think the topic on Shanks as well is, it's kind of an open question, right? Of, was this an issue of maybe he's not that great at Victor right now? Maybe it's an issue of he's not that great in the wrong matchups. If he's not in a fantastic matchup, he's going to struggle. These are questions to be answered over the next few weeks. What can be said is that WE, when it comes to coordination and when it comes to, these intense moments, these intense Elder Dragon fights, soul fights that we keep on seeing, they're still the same WE from last year, and they have unlimited clutch factor, it would seem.
Yeah, most certainly. And a lot of that coming from Jomung as well. You can see the most damage dealt on the team. Jomung looks fantastic on this Samira. He had a very good performance against Rogue Warriors with it as well. And I'm looking forward to seeing more of what Jomung can do alongside Shanks as well. But yeah, we can start to see at least the different varieties of WE coming in, where we are getting, okay, these very strong front to back style team fights. We're getting these global pick compositions that are coming in. We're even starting to see like stuff like the Sejuani jungle. The biggest thing for me, at least when we saw WE taking Teacher Ma out, was how does this open up the options for WE? And we're certainly seeing that right now. Very much differing styles where they can play the pick, they can play the team fight, they can play the early game. And I think that's what fills me with the most confidence looking at WE going forward, is that they have all these different things that they can work through and play towards to have a successful spring 2020 or 2021.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm still in 20. Feels like we're still in 2020, to be honest.
Yeah. 2020 never ends. It's on forever.
Exactly. It's like COVID and 2020 are tied in my mind. That's a different conversation. I'm excited for what WE have showed us here. And I will say, on the side of V5, clearly there are some issues there. But none of the things that happened today are like screaming giant red flags at me. It doesn't feel like these are issues that are insurmountable. It feels like maybe some issues with shot calling on being decisive, especially in the game that they won. It feels like they could have been a little bit more decisive. They still had opportunities in the other 2 games as well. Like this last game, this easily could have gone the way of V5. They got pretty unlucky on the soul steal there, losing a couple of those early skirmishes as well that really were on a knife's edge. In fact, the team fights across the entire game were very much on a knife's edge. So I wouldn't move away from this series as a V5 fan, like with your head in your hands, worrying that there's no chance here. Like V5 still look like an exceptionally strong team. And I think that both of these teams, off the back of this series, are going to be looking to fight through playoffs. They are going to be looking to put themselves in, at very least, the top 6.
Exactly, and they did do a very good job of playing around their own composition in this. We talked about the 1-3-1 and the ability to play that. It really did put the hurt on towards WE, where they weren't sure how they were going to deal with it. And if these early Dragons hadn't gone their way, and if that last Infernal hadn't gone their way, you're buying a lot more time for V5 to start to play that out, and then suddenly this could look like a very different game. So I think overall, definitely from V5, not to be... It sucks that you lost, but not to be fully disheartened and think, God, the chances of playoffs and further forward are just completely gone, especially with the new playoff format. So they definitely are still, in my mind, very much playoff contention, but a big boon for WE as a team that really wants to be hitting, top 6, if not top 4 at this split. And with 2 wins already knotted underneath their belt, it's a great path forward for them.
Yeah, beautiful stuff coming out from WE. Great stuff as well from V5, but unfortunately not quite enough on the day. I will say, Mole looks pretty fantastic. I'm excited to see more from Mole. I'm excited to see if he can get the ball rolling on this Akali, because it didn't feel like he necessarily played the Akali badly. It felt like he was in a situation where this entire team composition from WE was all about peeling for Jomung, and his exclusive responsibility in this game is try and kill Jomung. Those 2 things don't necessarily go together that well, so it was definitely a difficult task on his hand. But in game number 2, Mole was a clear standout player, right? Getting multiple solo kills during the lane. Like, I'm very excited to see what else Mole will bring to the table across the course of this tournament. Y4 as well, actually playing pretty excitingly, like able to survive the attempts from Jomung multiple times across the game. So I was impressed by Y4, kind of knowing his limits on this June, knowing how far forward he can step enough to kind of bait Jomung in without ever going down.
I honestly believe Mole had a fantastic game even on the Akali. I think he was up against a difficult situation. But even in every single team fight, every time he went in, he was coming out with at least a kill and causing the chaos that he needed to as that Akali. Like, this Akali is so much more than just, hey, let's get the kills. It's also about, hey, let's create this pressure, Shroud in the middle of the team, make it draw a lot of attention towards the Akali so the rest of the team can do what it wants. And I think Mole did a great job in that respect.
Yeah, beautiful stuff coming out from Mole, but the person we're going to talk about is Jomung, because on this Samira, he looked pretty fantastic during the team fights. His team was playing around him, and he was able to set him up to be the MVP, especially during that Elder Dragon fight. He looked really exceptional, completely removed Y4 from the play. Great ultimates across the game, great mechanics during these team fights, and just overall, fantastic play.
Certainly. And I love seeing him on the Samira. I love seeing Samira in general. The playmaking ability on this champion is sky high, and especially in the hands of someone, as you said, Jomung, so aggressive, he can really make this work. Now, this time around, you had to tailor that a little bit because of how much dive potential there was, but certainly playing exceptionally well. And coming into the new WE, it feels like he really is set up to again be the carry for this team. And as long as we can take out some of the missteps and mishaps that we see, like tower diving very, very far, as long as we can get rid of that, that's where I think WE will really come into their own.
Yep, I'm certainly hoping so. We'll see if WE can continue their win streak. But speaking of WE, I'm going to kick it over to Wendy, who has WE as the first two letters of her name, I just noticed, for an interview with our winners.
Welcome to the interview. After 3 intense games, now we have invited the main laner Shanks from WE with us. So first of all, congratulations on the win. And we have noticed that there are so many skirmishes happen around the bot lane in all the 3 games. So could we know, are you guys plan to play around the bot lanes, or it's just naturally happen? 那么首先恭喜你们获得本场比赛的胜利。我们也注意到这3局比赛好像有很多在前期的摩擦都是围绕着下路去产生的，所以想问一下，你们是有特意做这样的准备吗？还是说，这是自然而然的一种决策呢？
没有做这样的准备。我们下路的风格就比较爱打，然后我们下路打得也很好，就可能会突然围绕下路打这种。
To be honest, we didn't manage to do such plan, but our bot dudes, they played very aggressively in the laning phase, so it's been naturally happen team fights around the bot lanes. So I think that's a reason for that. Moving on to today's game, in game 3, we have noticed that Akali has been open to the opponent's team, although it has a really high ban rate. So could we know the reason for that strategy? 那么说到第3局的一个 BP， 比较有趣的是，你们是把阿卡丽放给了对面，但是其实阿卡丽这个英雄在最近的比赛中有个非常非常高的ban率的，所以想问一下，为什么会做出这样的一个决断呢？
因为我们觉得对面选了阿卡丽，我们也会赢，就我们团战好发挥一点，他的团战并不好发挥。
We think even though they may choose Akali, we can still win the game. The Akali may not be that good at the team fights, but we can win all the team fights. So that's the reason for that. And moving on, this is the first year for Shanks to play on the LPL stage, and you have showed a very good performance currently. So are there any LPL mid laners that you really want to face against? 那么这也是今年也是 Shanks 选手第一次来到 LPL 的赛场嘛，然后所以也想问一下，有没有特别想要在遇到的一个中单选手呢？
我记得之前已经回答过这个问题了，就比较想跟 Rookie 哥打，虽然我打不过他。
I think I've answered these questions in the previous interviews, but to be honest, I really want to face against Rookie, although I may not be able to win against him. I believe that we can see you guys play on stage soon, because the next game will be facing against IG. And IG, they really have a very good performance currently. So are there any special preparations that you guys will make? 那么我们也相信，在不远的未来，我们就可以看到你们2个人在中路对决。因为下一场 WE 就要面对的是 IG， 那会不会做一些什么特别的准备吗？因为他们 IG 现在也是状态比较火热的。
就让我队友 C 吧，我尽量拖住对面中单吧。
I will try my best to drag the opponent's main laners, and I hope my teammates can carry me to get the win. And thank you, Shanks, for joining us, and we really hope you guys can get the victory in the next game as well. Thank you, guys, and back to you.
It's nice to hear from Shanks as well. It's nice to hear how he's feeling coming into the league.